Hey everyone, welcome back, or welcome if you are new. My name is Tonya, and today we are going to be taking a little book shopping adventure for my birthday. First, we're going to run and pick up our free birthday beverage from Starbucks, and then we're going to head to my nicer Barnes & Noble and do some book shopping there. We may end up somewhere else as well, but the main plan is to go to Barnes & Noble, so I thought I'd take you along with me for some shopping, and then we'll do a little haul later. All right, so I got a raspberry cold foam, and we're gonna see how that is because I've never had one before. Pretty tasty. All right, now off to Barnes. Alright, so I thought I would do a little haul of all the books I got today on my birthday book buying trip. I ended up going to 2 different bookstores. I went to Barnes & Noble's, and then I also ran in Joseph F. real quick. And then I also had an Amazon delivery that had a book in it as well. So tons of new books, which I try not to do a lot, but you know, you only have one birthday a year, so you might as well celebrate. So I thought I'd show you what I did pick up. So first, we have The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. And I haven't read any other books by Rachel Gillig, but the Shepherd King duology is also on my list to read from her. She does a lot of Gothic kind of inspired books. And I've really been enjoying Gothic romanticises lately, so wanted to give this one a try. If you're not familiar with this book, it is about a diviner, and I'll just read you a little bit from the blurb on the front cover. Sybil Delling has spent 9 years dreaming of having no dreams at all. Like the other foundling girls who traded a decade of service for a home in the great cathedral, Sybil is a diviner. In her dreams, she receives visions from 6 unearthly figures known as the Omens. From them, she can predict terrible things before they ever occur. And lords and common folk alike travel across the Stonewater Kingdom's windswept moors and craggy mountains to learn their futures by her dreams. Just as she and her sister diviners near the end of their service, a mysterious knight arrives at the cathedral. Rude and devilishly handsome, the knight Roderick has no respect for Sybil's visions. But when Sybil's fellow diviners begin to vanish one by one, she has no choice but to seek out his help in finding them, for the world outside the cathedral's cloister is wrought with peril. Only the gods have the answers she is seeking, and as much as she'd rather avoid Roderick's dark eyes and sharp tongue, only a heretic can defeat a god. So it sounds really good. You don't see a lot of books with diviners in them, so that should be an interesting twist. I also have heard there is a gargoyle as kind of a companion in here. So interested to see how that kind of plays in, but I've only heard good things about the gargoyle. So this has been on my list to pick up for a couple months now since it came out, so grabbed it today. I also picked up the 3rd book in the Crescent City series, House of Flame and Shadow. And I got the Barnes & Noble edition because I just bought the first two Barnes & Noble editions off of Mercari. I read the first book on my Kindle, and then I have House of Sky and Breath on my TBR for this month, which I also have that on my Kindle, but now I have the physical book as well. So wanted to get this one kind of round out the current set. And if you're not familiar with Crescent City by Sarah J. Maas, it is a very popular urban romantasy series. Definitely looking forward to reading that one. And they are kind of chunky books. And then after those two books, I kind of branched out a little bit. So I got The Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynne. And he's a pretty well-known epic fantasy writer, but I haven't read any of his other works. So I wanted to give him a try. And this is book one of the Bloodsworn, I believe it is, the Bloodsworn trilogy. And then just a little blurb on this one. When the gods fought, it was a battle so savage they destroyed themselves, leaving nothing but their bones and the broken land of Vigrid in their wake. Now as whispers of war echo over the fords and across the plains, fate follows in the footsteps of three warriors, a huntress on a perilous quest, a noble woman pursuing battle fame, and a thrall seeking retribution among the mercenaries known as the Bloodsworn. All three will change the course of the world as it once more falls under the shadow of the gods. So as most epic fantasies go, there's going to be some sort of great evil, and our three heroes here will have to prevail so that, you know, the world as they know it does not end. So looking forward to reading this one. Then this is a little bit of an older book, which the John Gwynne one might be too. But the next book I got was actually the one I picked up from Joseph Beth. And that is by R.A. Salvatore. And it's called The Demon Awakes. And it's the Demon Wars saga. And I have only read R.A. Salvatore's Drizzt series, The Dark Elf. So this one is a different world. So I wanted to pick something up that wasn't related to his Drizzt Do'Urden books. R.A. Salvatore is just a classic epic fantasy writer. The worlds are always really detailed. You always learn a lot about the characters, a lot about the magic. And like I said, I've only read his Drizzt Do'Urden books previously. So I just wanted to kind of branch out, try something else from him. And for this one, and because I don't have my glasses on, I get this print small. I gotta hold it real far away. A great beast awakens all that is violent in the lands of Corona. Incited by this newly risen evil, goblins and giants ravage the frontier, and their merciless attacks leave behind two shattered orphans. Stripped of all they hold dear, Gillispone and her friend Elbrian teeter unaware between despair and destiny. Meanwhile, gemstones have fallen onto the black sand shores of a distant island. When harvested by the monks who guard the secrets of magic, these stones contain incredible powers, including the key to all that is good in the world and all that is evil. So, love how this one sounds. And I mean, it's definitely a thicker book. A lot of the ones I picked up today are thicker books, but I've loved everything I have read by R.A. Salvatore, so I don't expect that this will be any different. So another series to get started on, because you can, of course, never have too many series to be reading. And then this is not a fantasy, so it's a little bit outside of what I usually read, but I've only heard good things about this. And I believe it's being made into a movie now, and that is Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. And I thought this edition was super cute. And as I said, it's a literary fiction. I believe we have the point of view of an octopus in here, which, I mean, how could that not be fun? And I don't know much else about it, actually. So I'm going to read the blurb with you. After Tova Sullivan's husband died, she began working the night shift at the Sowell Bay Aquarium, mopping floors and tidying up. Keeping busy has always helped her cope. which she's been doing since her 18-year-old son mysteriously vanished on a boat in Puget Sound over 30 years ago. Tova becomes acquainted with Marcellus, a brilliant giant Pacific octopus living at the aquarium. Marcellus wouldn't dream of lifting one of his 8 arms for his human captors until he forms a friendship with Tova. Ever the detective, Marcellus deduces what happened the night Tova's son disappeared, and now Marcellus must use every trick his old invertebrate body can muster to unearth the truth for her before it's too late. So I think it just sounds super cute. It'll be interesting to see how, having so much of the point of view be from an octopus works out in the book. But yeah, like I said, I've only heard good things about it and just was looking to try something a little bit different. And then my one Amazon book, I had pre-ordered and it just came in yesterday. Theory in Dreaming by Ava Reed, and it's the sequel to A Study in Drowning, which it's a YA book. And I read The Study in Drowning, I guess it's been like 3 months maybe. And the books are really beautiful. That's it without the cover. And you can see the spine with all the books. So really just a gorgeous edition. So this book picks up right where A Study in Drowning left off. So we're still following Effie and Preston, but they have returned back to school at this point. And they're just dealing with the outcome and the notoriety that has come from all the things that happened in the previous book. And if you're not familiar with A Study in Drowning, the first book, both Effie and Preston end up going to this famous author who has passed away's house. And Preston goes under the guise of researching this author to do a publication about how great his work is. And Effie ends up going because she's currently an architecture student and she's won a contest that the author's son has put on to help redesign a new house to go on their current lands. And this author is Effie's favorite. She loves his work. She idolizes him. And then she gets to his house and it is not what she thought it would be. And also she finds out that Preston is not there to write a story about how great the author was, but kind of to prove that he's a fake. So they end up teaming up to work together and just find out whatever they can about the author, because Preston, as I mentioned, wants to prove that he's kind of a farce, and Effie wants to prove Preston's wrong and that her beloved author is really as great and wonderful as she always has thought he was. Lots of things happen and the author definitely wasn't all that he seemed to be, so lots of secrets revealed there. And that's kind of how the first book goes. And then after they've went back to school and kind of, published their findings from this paper, that's where this story picks up. And as it is a YA book, I mean, the plots are not necessarily overly complex, but they're still really enjoyable reads. The author's writing is just really well done. It's very descriptive, it flows really well, and you really get a feel of the character's surroundings when you're reading any of her works. So that's kind of more what I'm reading this series for. It's just a little bit more of a low-key kind of book. I mean, there's still some high stakes for certain things, but it's not overly complex. And I'm more reading it just for the ease of reading it, as well as just that descriptive nature of the surroundings and the characters by the writer. So this is definitely one that I'm looking forward to reading. And that is it, which I think that is plenty. I know people do these large, extravagant book hauls sometimes, but I bought 6 books today, and that's a lot of books for me to purchase at once. Like I said, I don't do that very often, but I decided to treat myself today. So I hope you enjoyed seeing my little haul here, and if you have read any of these books, definitely let me know what you think about them down below. So take care, keep reading, and I'll catch you in my next video. Bye!